Hey guys, Takuyasugi here, going to be doing a review today of Domina on Steam on the PC. So I picked this game up the other day and played through it, beat it all the way till the end, and I haven't done the second ending, but I pretty much know what it's going to be. And there might be another ending after that, but I don't know. I only know that there's two potential endings as of now. But this game, it follows your main character of the Domina, but really, if you think about it, the main characters are the gladiators, but you are in control of the Domina, and the Domina is taking over for her father. He's dying, he's screwed up, and she has a ludus on her hand, and a ludus is like, a gladiator school where you send gladiators to fight in the arena and train them. So, you control all these gladiators, you micromanage, a lot of micromanaging, you got a little bit of a story attached, so I'm going to be reviewing the story, the gameplay controls, graphics, sound, longevity, and replayability, and then I'll give my overall impressions. So let's start with the story first of all. So just to reiterate, the story is pretty simple and straightforward. It plays it very safe. If you've seen Spartacus, if you've seen Gladiator, you have an idea of how the story is going to go. And they do make an attempt to make the story more engrossing by having these random events, seemingly random I believe, where you'll interact with the legate and what was the other guy? I forgot, magistrate or something. I don't know. Either way, I mean, you're just dealing with these two guys that are by your side there. You got the gladiator looking guy, or the Roman general looking guy, and the other guy, I forgot I forgot who that was actually. But yeah, there's not really much of a story to the game. It's very straightforward and borrows heavily from that sort of fiction, or I don't think it's nonfiction or anything. But yeah, you do have choices. You do have a different ending depending on how you play. I'm not going to give anything away on that, but the story is very simple and straightforward. Your goal is to train up your gladiators for a championship event, because the emperor, I guess, is worried about rebellion, or the disfavor of the people and losing power. It's very simple and stuff, and they make an attempt to make it good, but I mean, there's just not much connection with the characters. I mean, the most connection you have is with your gladiators, and even then they're kind of like soulless drones, where you just have an idea of how they're feeling based on their status, like it says pleased or disquieted or something. And there is a morale system. I don't know if you could tie that into story or not. But yeah, I mean, the story, there's not much of a story to be had. It's very simple, very simple. So next we have gameplay and controls. So I would give this a 4 out of 5. There's a early on you have to use your doctore to train up your gladiators, and there's one option that's pretty much a must-have, and that is called mind control. I think it's mind control. But mind control allows you to manually control your character in the arena. So if you don't have this, you're going to have some crappy AI early on during the game. And even if you have really good AI, there's still a good chance that they'll lose sometimes. So you can see here during this clip, I'm actually manually controlling this guy. And I'm rolling, I'm doing manual rolls, I'm swinging manually, I'm blocking manually. So when you manually control the characters, the game becomes a lot more engrossing and engaged for you. Even in like multi-men battles, like I found myself fighting a lot of multi-men battles and taking on multiple people, even though I had like a lot of my AI men trained up to 100 AI skill, which I believe was the cap. And without that AI training, your guys are going to be dead weight. A lot of the enemies you face are pretty high in AI skill. So you really have to have the manual control a lot of times. You take control of your best character, and then you just go in there and hammer the opposition down. And it's quite fun. It's quite fun. The controls feel pretty responsive. It's pretty satisfying. You feel like you're actually using your own skill to defeat these AIs, and sometimes they're not a walk in the park, but a lot of times you get to figuring out how they play, and if you've built up your character right, and you have the right amount of equipment, you can manage pretty well in a battle. You can manage pretty well. The gameplay itself, it involves micromanaging, so You can actually automate a lot of this, like the Doctori can automatically uh, engage the gladiators to train on their own, so you don't have to right click them over and over. When I first started the game, I just right clicked everything and I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty tedious. I didn't really have time to do much else, and I finally found that option. And I was like, okay, this actually works, and it doesn't even cost anything. Same goes with the blacksmith. I didn't figure that out till a little bit later, how to auto upgrade things for free. That was a pretty useful trait. And yeah, the gameplay does involve like buying additional trainers and upgrades for your Ludus and stuff. So it's pretty engaging gameplay. I have to say the gameplay and the control scheme is one of the high points of the game for sure. So moving on to the sound portion of the game. So the sound, I give it a solid 5 out of 5. It has a really good soundtrack to the game. It's very heart pounding, very up tempo, and then in between you have like the whole ambiance with rain, and you have the whole clashing of weapons and shields and swords hitting armor. It's a pretty satisfying sound experience. I mean, it's what you expect from a gladiator simulator kind of thing, and it really pulls it off quite well. I think the sound production in the game is top notch here, top notch, I think. So coming to the longevity and replayability portion of the review, so I would give this a 2 out of 5. While there is 2 endings, you feel like once you played through it successfully the first time, there's not much diversity in the way you play. So you know, you're pretty much building a certain way. You know how to build by then. By the time you want to replay it for the second ending, if you screwed up and know what you did wrong, and you want to get the good ending, I assume people are going to get mostly the bad ending before they realize how to get the good ending, and that can make for some good replayability, but it feels a little bit frustrating that you had that ending. I guess it's kind of like a morality lesson in a way. I'm trying not to give away too much about the endings, but you know, once you still, even though you're playing it again to get the good ending, if you feel compelled to do that, you're pretty much going to build the same way as you built before. I mean, you can build 3 different classes, but generally you're going to be picking what you used before, what you knew that worked, and working to get that good ending. And I don't feel like there's enough diversity to really say the game has a lot of replayability. And I beat the game for the bad ending, and give or take maybe 2 hours, maybe a little bit less than that. So there's not a whole lot of depth to the game. So it does encourage you to do a second ending. I think you're going to probably do a second ending if you get the game and you want to get the good ending. But generally, there's not a lot of longevity or replayability to it, I would say. So I would fortunately give that a 2 out of 5. So yeah, guys, with Domina, I would give it a solid 3 out of 5. It's a good value for the price. I believe it's like $9.99 on Steam at the moment, and I feel like anything more than that would have been a little bit overdoing it. Personally, I think the game's more of a 5. I don't want to sound insulting, but I feel like it's more of a $5.99 kind of game, and I don't want to sound demeaning to the game because I did have a good time playing it. It just has clear deficiencies in how the game was made. Like the text is not fun to read. The text is kind of garbled. I don't know if I had some wrong settings or what. The balancing to the resources, buying food, buying water is really inexpensive, and I found myself, even though I upgraded to, you know, stockpile water and wine and food and all that, I felt like that was a wasted upgrade. I shouldn't have even did that, because the game doesn't even have that many days where you would see any real benefit to that. The boss fights were fun. The soundtrack was amazing. It was a really nice soundtrack. Initially playing it, I really had a good time, but it did get a little bit repetitive over time. The controls in combat were really fun. You know, here's the boss fight I'm actually doing here on the screen here. Use one of my best guys. And, you know, I just felt like it kind of was over a little too quickly. I felt like the ending kind of took me by surprise, too. I guess I knew why one mechanic was in and why I didn't use it. There was also social media tools that I really never expanded, never really bothered with, because I don't really stream too often. But I think if I was a streamer, this would be a pretty fun game to engage my audience with, because I think you can like cheer for your streamer and give them more gold or something. So that looked fun, and you got whole social media sharing kind of thing. I like how they integrated that kind of stuff, but you know, overall, the game needed a little bit more to really bump it up a big notch. And hopefully, if they ever have a sequel, they'll add more variety, they'll add more longevity to the game. Maybe they'll add a little bit more in the way of gameplay. Maybe they'll up the graphics a little bit. I like the retro style and everything, but I feel like if they actually, you know, went a step beyond and actually upgraded the graphics to a higher echelon, it would be a lot more interesting. So that'll do it for my review of Domina here today, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I would very much appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you guys for watching.